Hey, welcome to the ROC Taiwan channel. Today we are going to talk about the Taiwan spillway situation. Taiwan is finished. The fate is sealed. This video is not about the military drill of China in the past few days, though we will talk about some of this in the end. This video is focused mainly on some bigger events that happened last week. The last nail on the coffin. So Russia may be in the game now. So what happened last week? We know that on May 16th and 17th, Putin went to China and had a meeting with Xi Jinping. And after the meeting, Russia and China had signed a joint statement. So what's in the joint statement? It's a very long one. It has 10K words in the Chinese version, and it's talk about how the Russia and China would cooperate. It mentioned the word cooperation 130 times, and it talked about how these two countries view the world order and how the world should be changed. I think the Western media has deliberately downplayed this thing because this statement means that China and Russia has some deeper ties together, and the Western medias try to play down on this. So I found it's even hard to find a full statement of the English version on the internet. So what's important in the statement? Well, I'll talk about the part that mentioned Taiwan. So these are the wordings that involve Taiwan, and this part comes up in every statement that China has signed with other countries. So the English translation is like, opposed to any form of Taiwan independence and firmly support China's measures to safeguard national sovereignty and territorial integrity and achieve national reunification. So why do I highlight the last three words? Well, the highlighted words wasn't in the statement of the 2023 meeting of Xi Jinping and Putin, and it's not in any statement prior to that. So it's like the new sentence. So why is this sentence important? So we can view this paragraph. The former part of the paragraph, it's like a more neutral tone. Like even the Western country that signed statement with China would mention this, because it's like every country, most of the country in the world that doesn't support Taiwan independence, and they will support China's measure to safeguard national sovereignty. And this is like some neutral thing. It's not like taking side or what. But the last few words, the new things that come up, it has a very direct and specific meaning that it will support China when China try to achieve unification, which means to take Taiwan back. So these three words are not the first time that came up in China's foreign statement, but before they usually come up with a statement that China signed with smaller country that were like China's old buddies, and like they will just say whatever China want them to say. But Russia is a different thing. We know that Russia is a superpower. So superpower, they normally want to have more independency. So they won't take that direct side on other countries stuff. So this is the first time that I think a superpower that has used this word with China on the joint statement. Like you don't see China sign this with on like the other superpower like France or US or other countries. So we can talk about Taiwan's old strategy. That's if China invades, what will Taiwan do? Like everyone in the world knows that Taiwan can't can win a war against China by itself. So if China invades Taiwan, what Taiwan thinking is like we want to hold the line as long as we can and see if the US and the allies and maybe the Europe will come to help Taiwan. And Taiwan people has this delusional dream scenario of it's the world versus China. So like when China invades, it will like be in the Ukraine war. That the whole world will be on Ukraine side and will be against China. Yeah, and this time will be the world on Taiwan side against China, which is not a very realistic picture, but well, that's what Taiwanese has been thinking. And the truth is, the chance of United States, Japan, or any country's direct military interference is very slim. But you can argue there's a probability, and I won't say you are wrong. So basically, Taiwan's plan is like we have a hope and we have a dream that other country will come to rescue, or else we won't be able to defeat China. So what has changed in the recent years? Well, at first we know there's the Ukraine war, and this war has a lot of affection on Taiwan. Because the Ukraine war has shown that even with full NATO aid, which Taiwan would never dream of, like getting so much weapons and so much financial support from the world, and like even with all those aids, it's Ukraine is still losing the battle, and not to mention like when Taiwan's at war, it's even harder to get the aid into the island, and so it's like a losing battle. And originally, Russia wasn't even in the equation of Taiwan's affair. Like in the old time when we talk about like the China and Taiwan conflict, the countries' name that come up is usually like China, United States, maybe sometimes Japan, but it's never. But Russia is seldom mentioned because, as I stated before, both China and Russia are a superpower. So superpower like they like to act independently. So like in the old days, if the Taiwan war really happened, we would think that Russia would take the stance like China took in the Ukraine war, which is try to stay neutrality as much as possible. So when we were talking about Taiwan's war, we seldom think about Russia. But after the Ukraine war, the West has pushed Russia all the way to China's side, and they has broken all the ties with Russia, and they cut all the economic relation with Russia. So this kind of make Russia doesn't have to stay neutrality no more. Like it says in the statement that if China wanted to do a reunification of Taiwan, it supports China. So it didn't say how it would support, but it made it clear that it supports China's decision. Well, so if we put Russia into the puzzle, then the whole game is changed. It's not like the old time we only think about like when Taiwan and China went to war, then maybe the United States will interfere, and maybe United States will grab Japan with him to interfere, and it's like it's much more complicated now. So let's imagine a situation that when China try to invade Taiwan and surround Taiwan with all its plane and its warship, its carriers, and during this time, the Japanese and the United States would be still there at their home and considering how it should support Taiwan or will it support Taiwan. But let's say the Russia this time sailed the warship to the Pacific Ocean, and it's like it claimed to the world that it's China's domestic business, so no other country should interfere. If the West interfere, then Russia would interfere too. Like Russia doesn't even have to really use its planes or its military power to support China, because China can handle the war by himself. It only need to use some wordings to warn the West and warn the surrounding countries that there's no interference, or else Russia would interfere too, and it will absolutely turn into a world war. And we know that those nuclear superpower, they don't want direct war with each other, so they would try to avoid that as much as possible. So what is the reality? Like we know in recent years, United States is pushing Taiwan into a proxy war, just like it has pushed Ukraine. And I think it's even a surprise to a lot of people that Ukraine war would started earlier. Because if you're reading the Western media a few years ago, like they always say the most dangerous place on earth is the Taiwan Strait. So like they didn't think Ukraine war would start that soon. Like they think China would invade Taiwan first. And if China and Russia has formed an alliance, it's a dominating power in the East Asia region. Like it's dominating over any other power. Like the US has lots of proxy states in the region. Like we know Japan and South Korea and Philippines and etc. But these countries, like they are no match to either China or Russia, and not to say if China and Russia are an alliance, like it would be the dominating power here. Well, maybe you can argue that the US Navy is stronger than like China and Russia Navy together, but it's not like China and Russia are together and try to invade US or try to have a total war on the Pacific Ocean. It's like they are the biggest player in this region, and like they would stay in this region. It's not like they want to have a nuclear war fight with US or what. So if this situation is getting true, that China and Russia is getting to a real alliance thing, then the chance of direct military interference of US and Japan is now down to 0. Like in old day, maybe it's still very near 0. Maybe you can give it like a 1% chance, and now it's 0. Like if China and Russia is together on the Taiwan thing, then there's no way US or Japan is like ever going to interfere directly with their military, because it means world war, and it's world war against China and Russia. So this is the cover picture I use, which is state very clearly that the closer China and Russia relationship gets, the worse is it for Taiwan. And like if they are alliance in the military, then like Taiwan is doomed. There's no way Taiwan can fight back or like even try to defend. So what what makes Taiwan came to like this situation? I think Taiwan has asked for its own demise. Like they can blame no one but themselves. The delusional people in Taiwan, like they push the independence dream to full scale in recent years, and like this independence, Taiwan independence thing is just a dream. Like it never had a chance. Like from losing the civil war in 1949 to this day, like it's always a dream. It's never going to come true, and like they keep pushing this dream, and so they make the base of the conflict with Taiwan with China grow with time, because China, like they made it very clear that the ultimate goal is to have your reunification, and you keep talking about independence, then it's like a major conflict. And we know the radical ruling party right now, they doesn't understand the balance of power in the region. Like they do whatever the United States tell them to do, or like they follow whatever the United States say, and they try to make China like their enemy. But we have seen this kind of thing play out just in Ukraine. It's what Zelensky did before the Ukraine war starts. Like it, it's it takes like it's lean all the way to the Europe and to the United States, and it's even crossed the red line of the of Russia, and it's view Russia as its enemy, and we all know how the situation plays out in the end. It's a total war, and it's a war that Ukraine cannot win. And what's even more ridiculous is that Taiwan has even radically choose side from the start of the Ukraine war to support Ukraine and being hostile to Russia. And before the Ukraine war, the Taiwan and Russia relationship aren't like aren't even bad, I would say, because Taiwan has some old relationship with Russia from like before the Civil War or like in the old times, and because Russia used to have some conflict with China, so the Taiwan and Russia relationship, I would say, it's more neutral. It's not like we are enemies or thing. We have a lot of trades doing on, and but after the war, the Taiwan has choose that very quickly. And the Taiwan and Ukraine relationship before the war, it was like nothing. Like Taiwan has very little connection with Ukraine. So why did Taiwan choose that? Because this Taiwan government, like they just follow whatever the United States do, and so they think the United States is on the Ukraine side, so Taiwan must be on the Ukraine side. Which for some real countries or country that they don't have a lot of strength, then that's okay if you want to choose that. But Taiwan itself, like first you are not a real country, and like most countries in the world, they recognize China, they don't recognize Taiwan. And second, you already has made yourself a very big enemy, like a superpower like China. You make China your enemy, and it's very near. And now you want to make enemy with another superpower, which is not so near, but it's just beside China, above China. And so why would you try to put yourself in a corner like this? Like you are digging your own grave. Like you are being hostile to like the most strong power in the East Asia region. So like, I don't think Taiwan can blame anyone but themselves for putting them in this situation. And like I said, I will talk about some about the military drill these days. And we know that these 2 days China has been holding military drills around Taiwan, which is like which means that it's very furious about the speech that the newly elected president Lai Ching-te gave on his first day in office. And the military drill, it's not like real ammunition, so the scale would not be like the biggest on the content because there's no like real shooting. But I think because it's a organized drill and like the military units involved is like maybe the largest in, if you see it this way. And of course the drill has this, like this picture is around Taiwan, and the name of the drill is like Joint Sword. And what's interesting is that it has a 2024A. Like there's usually no like English alphabet in this kind of name. So what people are guessing is like there would be a 2024B or 2024C that comes up later if Taiwan's still taking the stance right now. So what did the newly elected president's Lai's speech that's provoked China? Well, I think that speech is like direct violation of the China's One China policy. Like it's just like saying directly to China like there's One China, One Taiwan or something like that. And it's not a surprise because we know that the newly elected president, he's a iconic figure of the Taiwan independence ideologies. So like he's saying like what he like to say. But I think the reason China is so furious is because like this kind of situation usually should be avoidable, because like Taiwan's president's speech would be previewed by the United States before like he did it. So the United States can have every means to like change the speech and like tell him to say some word that they can say. But since China and the United States relationship is getting so bad, I think the United States like, yeah, whatever, let him say whatever he wants. And this is a dangerous path, because we know before the Ukraine war, Zelensky was doing the same thing, like say whatever he want to say, and it's like it's even claim he want to join NATO and cross that red line and started the war. So I think Taiwan is going down the same path right now. And what's even more disturbing or more sad is that the Taiwan people's mentality. Like when people see this drill, because there's no real ammunition and like not real blockage, so the people like don't see it as a big deal. Like in these few days, the Taiwanese people, they care more about the things happening in Congress than this military drill. And this is a dangerous thing, because we know before the Ukraine war, we see many reporters went to Eastern Europe to interview local people, and like everyone the interview would be saying, yeah, no, there will be no war, no Russia and Ukraine were buddies. There can be a war. The war is not going to happen, and we know what happened at last. The war started. So, like like Taiwan's government, they did what just like what the Zelensky regime was doing. Like they downplay every threat that China try to give, and China doesn't just do it for nothing. Like every time they do this kind of military drill, there's a very clear message they want to send. And like for this time, this message is like there's no room for Taiwan independence. You can get out of the one China policy thing, and like you have to take your word back, or stop saying this kind of stuff. And this message is very clear, but the Taiwanese seems to like they they try to avoid the thinking of like they pretend they are dumb, like they don't understand, and they want to say whatever they want to say, which is not how you deal with some superpower. Like superpower, we know they have their own rule and their own red lines, and that rule is not to be challenged. So, and we it happened on the first few days of the newly elected president office day. So if the situation is so bad on the start, then I think the next 4 years would be very, very, very dangerous for Taiwan, because this president, I would say he's a very dangerous man. He's he has he has the power to be Zelensky of Taiwan, and I don't know if he will go down the path all the way, like to start the war, but I I don't think the relationship of Taiwan and China will get any better. It's only downhill from here, cause the cause like his religion, like Taiwan independence was his religion, and like he's most comfortable saying all those kind of stuffs, and that will just make China more furious, and they will retaliate more, and they will show more of their military power. So yeah, I think this military drill isn't like the military drill of Russia before the Ukraine war, which is long and full scale and like real ammunition. But if this kind of drill come up more and more often and the scale getting bigger and bigger, then I would think Taiwan is in more and more dangerous spots. So yeah, that's the end of the video. So what I want to say mainly is that as we see that China and Russia's tie is more and more together, and then I would say that Taiwan's situation is more and more dangerous. If the ultimate thing is to go to war, so we know there's always peace talks, a chance of peace talk. So we hope that it doesn't go down the path of war, and it will have some kind of dialogue and some communication, and avoid a total war. Okay, thank you.